We are back. Hopefully, everybody will be able to head over and find the new stream because we had to switch over from the old one. I was in some sort of 360 wormhole vortex camera. I could not figure out why. So this is again an open invitation to anybody in the chat who knows a little bit more about YouTube streaming than I do. I've kind of been looking around to find somebody that can sort of help explain some of the issues that I've been going. This is really I have no experience with. I'm just making sure I pull up so I can see the chat here because for some reason it won't show up on the streaming program. So I believe we are live on the next one here. Only one person has made it over so far. But okay, sweet. We're good. I can see myself. So now I am going to bring my window capture back up and we'll kind of just chill here for a minute or two, give everybody, oh, there's the chat. I can see the chat on the screen now. Sweet. Weird. What a weird thing. So yeah, I'll give everybody just a couple minutes to filter back in. I know that was, I know this is probably frustrating every week. It's either frustrating or funny for you guys. I'm not sure, but yeah, I am sort of getting a better understanding of how this works. I've been trying to practice with it a little bit prior to the streams, but then I think what happened there was it was a drop down menu that I needed to click something at the bottom of, and I must have just like clicked off to the side of it or down. Once it already clicked it, I clicked it again or something, and it selected a box I wasn't even looking at. Because I did notice that the YouTube 360 video button was like right there where I had it wasn't clicked, but I yeah, must have done something like that. So, okay, I see Jason and Sammy and Joe, Rob, Ken. How you guys doing? Good to see you. Tonight we're gonna be doing another nutrient stream. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it in the exact same format as last time, where I do all of the math on the screen. You guys let me know, because like, if that's something you like, if seeing that kind of process is something that you guys enjoy watching. To me, I kind of went back and watched through some of it, and it was a little bit dry. It's something that I do for a living every day, and I don't kind of just like it's not even really like a thing in my brain, but it's like how other people would feel about watching me do the math, and I really don't know that that's entertaining content. So I think maybe we will avoid trying to do the math on screen. Would you guys want me to do one more? Kind of let me know in the chat here. Jason, I am feeling much better. Yeah, that was like a 5-6 day little virus that I had last week. I had a pretty high fever even when I was sitting here doing the live stream with you guys last week. I think I had like 101 fever or something. But yeah. So, guys, if you're here and you're in the chat here, says I like watching you do your work, not watching other growers' videos. Okay, all right, good feedback. You're a great teacher. I'm learning a lot every week. Well, thank you very much, Sammy. Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate the feedback. It's really important to kind of make what we're doing here a little bit more entertaining as best we can. So yeah, okay, fine. I'll go through, and maybe if you guys want to follow along with me, I'm gonna have to get my tablet hooked up to my computer again. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about first, I'm just going to talk about Foop first, because I know you guys have heard me talk about Foop quite a lot, and it is kind of like a little bit of a joke in the Facebook group now when people mention Foop. And, Foop to me has some similarities to the way Fox Farm, their trio, does things, but just also not quite as... it's just not as good, I'll say. And Fox Farm is not that great. Rob says he wants to hear about Gaia. Yeah, we can do... You know what? Here, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent right now before we get into everything else about top dress nutrients. So the way top dress nutrients work most of the time is that a company like Gaia Green will get a bunch of different components for, that are fertilizers. And I'll start here where people call them amendments. So here's a little bit of a misconception of terminology. And Sensi, is the nutrient line ready to ship? This week we're going to be shipping. Yeah, it's shipping in batches, but we've been prepping them, and yeah. Some people have already seen their shipping label print and all, so people have already gotten emails, and we will be shipping a bunch of them this week. So, but yeah. The difference between nutrients and amendments. If anybody in the chat knows the difference between nutrient and amendments, I'd be impressed. If somebody wants to kind of jump in and explain it before I do, and that's your last chance. So the difference between a nutrient and amendment is amendments are designed to assist or to improve soil structure. So let's think of an amendment. You could say bokashi. Bokashi is a great amendment. Bokashi is a great amendment because it has bacterial and fungal microbes that assist the plant with growth rates. There's some synergy between the mycorrhiza and the plant roots. I'm pretty sure it's just bacteria and fungi. I think there's some lactobacillus bacteria in there. So it has plant growth enhancing properties, but it also has a structure to it because it is barley. I think it's barley, spent barley from brewing beer, and that spent barley has some volume to it. It has some water holding capacity to it, and it allows for the soil to have like a little bit better structure and do something called create something called soil aggregates. Soil aggregates are when your soil kind of clumps together in a way because of whether it's fungal activity that's causing that, whether it's bacterial activity that's causing that stuff to break down and kind of I have a bug bite. To kind of come together and create these clumps. But what it does is it allows channels for the water to pass out. It allows the watering capacity or the water holding capacity to kind of optimize itself, and it's a great way to do that. That particular thing is a great way to improve your soil structure and also add some nutritional value, or at least microbe value. And then there are other amendments. I would say something like alfalfa meal. So if you guys have ever used alfalfa meal, if you're putting together like an organic soil, or alfalfa meal has some structure to it. It's kind of like a powder, or it can be a little bit more like I don't know, I want to say shredded, but like a little more coarse. And that right there is a good example of something that has undeniable nutritional value. Usually it's somewhere like around I think it's like a 200 or something, which is still 2% nitrogen is not nothing. And then it also improves your soil structure. It can make it hold a little bit more water. It's a great thing to do that. So, and then there are things that are strictly fertilizers, which a lot of the stuff in these top dress nutrients are. The fertilizers are things where the primary function is to deliver nutrients to the plant. So if you're adding something like Gaia Green, there might be some amendments in there. There might be some things that are designed to be added to your soil at the beginning to improve the structure and improve the texture of your soil. And then the other stuff that's going to be in there is rapidly dissolving fertilizers that are organic fertilizers that rapidly dissolve. So you have stuff like feather meal, you have fish bone meal, you have alfalfa meal, like I mentioned. You have blood meal. There are all these things. So something like blood meal dissolves really quickly, and it's not as quick as like a chemical nutrient or a conventional nutrient, but compared to some of the other organic fertilizers, blood meal really is strictly a fertilizer, and it doesn't really add any. It doesn't change the structure of the soil at all, but it does add nutritional value. And it's available to the plant really quickly. And then there are other things in there that are designed, like let's say, I don't know what's in Gaia. Let's pull it up. We'll pull up Gaia Green, just so that we can talk about it and not be in the dark as to what we're talking about. Whoops. Let's get these windows situated. Okay. All right. Give me 1 sec here. I'll pull it up on Google and then I'll move myself away. You know what? I don't want to use that window. I'll use this window. GA. That looked like my microphone was falling for a second. Okay, so Gaia Green. Let's pull up their website and we'll take a look at what they're doing. So, and I guess I mentioned this a lot when we kind of get into the organic side of growing, where this style of, I've done it before, and I know, you know, I can put together a really good soil amendment at the beginning and then top dress feeding schedule for cannabis plants, but I am far less knowledgeable as it relates to, you know, this kind of style of organic growing than I am to using like a liquid organic fertilizer or pretty much, yeah, if you're sticking with organic or conventional. But I'm always a liquid organic fertilizer guy. Where's their website? Their front page here. Let's see. Gaia Green Organics. Okay. So I will move myself out of the way and we'll go through their website a little bit and we will see what we can find here. Oops. Let's just get rid of that then. No. Can't win. Okay. I'm going to fix this window. And there we go. Okay. Back in business. Okay. So Gaia Green. A lot of people use this stuff. I get asked about Gaia Green all the time. I like their website. I'll tell you that at the beginning here. So let's find their product and we'll go through it together. Because honestly, I've never really looked very closely at Gaia Green. So you guys are going to explore this with me and you'll see how kind of my brain works a little bit when I'm looking at this stuff. And maybe that'll help you to make decisions in the future with what you're going to use. So anybody in the chat, if you want to start kind of letting me know which products from Gaia Green that you use, I will click on those next. But let's just start with the all-purpose fertilizer. So 444 is a very typical number for all-purpose fertilizers. And it's really great for tomatoes. It's really great for, I believe, for peppers. 444284. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's really great for peppers and stuff that really like, you know, kind of acidic soil type plants. The 444s are really good for. When it comes to cannabis, an even balance between everything is not really what cannabis wants. Cannabis is really looking for something that's weighed a little bit more heavily on the potassium and the nitrogen sides. Always, there's never a point in the growth of a cannabis plant where you're going to need your phosphorus to be higher than either of the other two macronutrients. So that's just something, maybe, you know, it's let me fix this window a little better here. Maybe that's something just to look out for. So if you're looking at a fertilizer option and it is just like what Jason just posted, a 284. And then you got a 444. There is no way with those two fertilizers that you can provide your plant more potassium than phosphorus, or more nitrogen than phosphorus even. Because if you were to combine those two at a 1-to-1 ratio, there's really not any way to increase your nitrogen above the phosphorus. So that's really my first initial reaction here, is that Gaia Green, again, is basing a lot of their decisions on old information. So here, while we're talking about this, I might as well pull up some research on these streams here. So what I'm going to pull up is a study that was done about adding extra phosphorus to improve, they call it inflorescence yield, to improve inflorescence yield. They were testing whether or not phosphorus or phospholoading or adding more phosphorus would actually improve your prospects for a higher yield or higher quality, higher THC, higher terpenes, anything like that. And this study that I'm going to pull up here that's what this is talking about. So just give me 1 second here. Okay, so I believe it is this one here. Frontiers. So it's not, if you guys ever go through and read research at all, frontiers in is it's the word frontiers and then the words like in to like walk in somewhere. It is a great resource for finding really good information. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna see if I can pop myself right back in here and see if you're able to see that. Okay, cool, yeah. So you have the research paper right in front of you here. And what this is the optimization of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for soilless production of cannabis sativa in the flowering stage using response surface analysis. And I'm going to go ahead and just quickly scroll to the parts that are important to know here. So this study examined in response of a high delta-9 THC cannabis sativa cultivar grown in deep water culture with different nutrient solution treatments varying in their concentrations. Nitrogen up to from 70 parts per million up to 290, with phosphorus from 20 parts per million all the way up to 100, and from potassium from 60 parts per million all the way up to 340. So right here, we could even just stop and kind of take a look at it and say, oh, they're not even getting their potassium above 100 as the max. And we're talking 340, 290 on our maximum nitrogen and potassium. So phosphorus is already being tested and used in this study as a much lower part per million range. And that's because you'll find out here why that is at the end of the study. The results demonstrated that inflorescence yield, which is just overall, bud yield. It's not biomass overall, but the actual yield of the flowers. And responded quadratically to nitrogen and phosphorus with the optimal concentrations predicted to be 194 and 59 milligrams per liter, which is just about a part per million, very close. So 194 parts per million of nitrogen, which is where our nutrient line starts from seedling. That's where we start feeding at. And then we'll go probably, if you're not supplementing with CO2, it goes up to about 250. And then you can always add a little bit more if you really have your stuff dialed in and the plants can handle it. But I'm going to see if I can scroll down to the part on phosphorus. Phosphorus nutrition has long been a focus in cannabis cultivation. Growers often supply plants with relatively high phosphorus concentrations, up to 200 milligrams per liter. I've seen up to 400 milligrams per liter on some nutrient lines. Hey, what's up, Pushin'? Pushin' Phosphorus is here, so now we can stop talking about him. Please, guys, if you just want to not talk about him anymore. So during the flowering stage, based on a belief that high phosphorus promotes flower development. And then they go on to say there's little evidence to support this practice. There are some questionable studies that have been conducted that don't really prove anything conclusively one way or the other. They've got some data that is, inconclusive, really. This study came up with some pretty conclusive data saying that your phosphorus concentrations are, what was the number that they said? I think it was up there. I think it was like 60 something parts per million. Phosphorus being 59. Yeah, 60 parts per million. So there's people who are going all the way up and above 200, into the 300s, into the 400s, when really all you need is 60. And then phosphorus, if we're talking about commercial scale growing, phosphorus is terrible for the environment. It sinks into the water table. It does real damage to the environment around it. So that's another reason that phospholoding, which is what we call it in the industry, is not good practice for growing cannabis. So they go on here, this is all good stuff. And I think if you guys are interested in learning about the science of growing cannabis, I think maybe going through a couple studies here and there on the live streams here can't hurt. I'll keep it quick though, because I know this might be really boring for some people. So there are no published studies examining the effect of potassium on inflorescence quality. Some recent studies have looked at how potassium impacts inflorescence yield. Yield of aquaponically grown cannabis, which is like hydroponic. I think aquaponics has like fish in the actual water usually. Increased linearly with increasing nutrient solution potassium concentration in the range of 15 to 150 milligrams per liter. So what does that mean? And it says grams per plant. So per plant, the number of grams of harvested material, that is, usable harvested material, increased linearly on a straight line between the range of 15 parts per million, which is a very low amount, and 150 parts per million, which is, I would say like a 75% of what maximum should be, which is pretty high, high compared to a lot of other nutrient lines. So nitrogen concentration reflects that of a typical aquaponic solution at 75 milligrams per liter. So here we go. Potassium had reduced, for the vegetative stage, cannabis plants supplied with 15 milligrams per liter had reduced growth and displayed foliar symptoms characteristic of potassium deficiency. So that's what they're saying right there. 15 milligrams per liter, 15 parts per million is not enough to sustain a plant without it getting potassium deficiency. So the plants that received 60 to 240 milligrams per liter produced substantially more biomass and did not display any potassium deficiencies. So as soon as they got above 60 parts per million and then keeping it below 240 parts per million, they did not see deficiencies and they saw a drastic increase in yield with potassium. That's why you guys hear me talk about potassium so much and you don't hear me talk about phosphorus as much, because that right there is your answer. They've come up with these answers in these studies over and over. It says, although there is a lack of recommendations based on scientific research, thank you, correct, some fertilizer companies are recommending 300 to 400 milligrams per liter potassium. More research is needed to determine the optimal. So what they're saying is, we don't know right now. They're saying based on the study that we just did, the data can't really tell us if adding 300 or 400 milligrams per liter of potassium is going to actually do any good. I can tell you that from experience, data collection, and anecdotal experience, that the ceiling for potassium really ends at about 240 to 275 parts per million. Anywhere encroaching closer to 300 parts per million, it's very extraordinarily rare for potassium to be your limiting factor at that level. You're usually going to be able to get by with lower amounts. So, and they kind of just go through, and that's kind of the end of that article right there. But I hope you guys found that interesting. That's one that I've read a bunch of times and kind of just looked over. What's that say? Didn't apply? Fox? Here, real quick. I got my computer right here, so I can check on that for you. We just had an issue with that coupon, and we fixed it, and it was working for people. So let me find out why it might be that you can't use it. Happy Father's Day. I've got an active coupon here, and it has not reached its usage limit yet. I would say, Fox Guy, if you want to maybe try refreshing or something, or double check that you typed in the password correctly. If you still can't figure it out, after stream, I will or shoot me a message. Why don't we talk? Let's talk after the Ian. Yours didn't work either. Okay, well then, if there's multiple people that tried to place orders in the chat right now, then I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can fix this. Hold on 1 second, guys. Everything here looks like it should be working. So I am going to go ahead and hop onto our website real quick and put something in my cart because it was working perfectly earlier. Hold on 1 sec here. coupon has expired. That's what it's saying. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense because it is good until Tuesday. So why would that be happening? Bear with me, guys. I just want to make sure that I handle this. If there's a bunch of people here that have are having issues, I don't want, we've got a lot of people trying to place orders, and this is going to be a nightmare if I don't fix this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and fix it. Go to the date here. Oh, that's why. Oh my God. So the servers for our website are apparently in I think the Philippines. So right now it is 5:37 here. It just clicked over into tomorrow for the Philippines, and that's what just happened. It expired because it thought it was tomorrow. We've had that issue before, and I completely forgot. I need to adjust the timing on the coupons to make sure that doesn't happen, but you guys should be all good now. That should be a working... Jason, yeah, it would have just stopped working because what I just said, it's for some reason the back end of the website thinks that it is just past midnight right now. So that's what happened there. You guys should be all good to use it now, though. So I completely lost my train of thought. Who wants to remind me what I was talking about before that? I'll just keep talking about Gaia Green. If it comes back to me, it comes back to me. So, oh yeah, the study. We're talking about the study. So, there's no conclusive evidence to suggest that ultra high phosphorus has anything to do with improving the yields of your plant or quality or terpenes or THC percentage. There's no evidence to support that. All you really require is to supply the plant so that it is well supplied with phosphorus. The range that we choose to use for that is somewhere in the neighborhood of the 50s. Let me put myself back on the screen here real quick because you can't see me. Whoops. So somewhere in the range of the 50 part per million range for the earlier stages of growth. And then as we move into the mid stages of growth, you'll get kind of up to about 65 to 70. And then as you get into the later flower, we will crank it up to usually around 80 to maximum 100. And the only reason we would crank it up to 100 is just because it was it was required for formulation reasons for the ingredients that we were using. Adding an extra 20 parts per million of phosphorus isn't going to harm the plants that are being fed with it, but it also makes it so that we don't have to go back and change everything or add another whole product. We could just balance things out, and it might make the phosphorus a little bit too high, but those 20 parts per million are not going to harm anything. They're just kind of useless. So that's the max that you would ever see a nutrient system or a nutrient program that I would put together with any nutrient line. But a feeding program, the max you would really see it is 100. And then there's, like the study said, there are quite a few, multiple, very large percentage actually, of fertilizer producers who increase their phosphorus because they think, it was a common misconception, like it said in that study, and they think it's going to improve the yield, and it doesn't. So we'll see what they have to say here. Preferred choice of organic farmers seeking a simple solution for all their fertilizer needs. To my knowledge, with how expensive Gaia Green is, I cannot seeing a lot of organic farms using that. Ian, you got your golden gun? Hell yeah. I love it. Awesome. Hopefully, Fox Guy, you got yours too. It's perfect. And, I think I might have some. Never mind. Well, never mind. But truly all-purpose fertilizer, suiting for a wide range of crops. All-purpose embodies the Gaia Green ethos of holistically improving soil quality to support resilient crop growth. Easy to use and long-lasting, this formulation combines ingredients with variable... Okay, so let's check if they're derived from first. So to get to this 444, feather meal, alfalfa meal, bone meal, blood meal. Let's start with those. Feather meal, I want to say, is a more rapidly dissolving and available nutrient. Alfalfa meal is a little bit slower. It's actually used a lot in compost teas to breed the good. To bleed or seep the good stuff out of the alfalfa meal, and you're really just left with kind of alfalfa without any nutrients really. And then bone meal, again, it's a slower dissolving. Blood meal, more rapidly dissolving. Glacial rock dust is like a micronutrient product. Rock phosphate, obviously a phosphorus product. Fish bone meal, usually fish bone meal is a high phosphorus fish bone meal, but there's different types. Mineralized phosphate, again, phosphorus because they've got a lot of it in there. Potassium sulfate, it's in a ton of different fertilizers. And then your lower levels of stuff here where they're adding insect frass, which is just like, I think it's a good nitrogen source, and it does a couple other things. I'm drawing a blank on what the other benefits of insect frass are. Which is just ground up insects. It's insect exoskeletons, I believe, that are ground up into a chunky powder, and that's what a lot of people think insect frass is bug poop or bug droppings, and it is not. It's actual bugs themselves. Basalt rock dust, I believe, again, that's a micronutrient product. Humic acid. So humic acid is a product that assists with the uptake of micronutrients. And I don't see any fulvic in there, but I think fulvic has to be liquid. Gypsum, that is potassium. I'm sorry, that's calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is gypsum. It's a calcium source, and it also has impact on soil pH, but it does a really good job of providing calcium that dissolves more slowly. And I'm going to talk about, I'll get through these last ones here. Kelp meal, it's an overall like micronutrient and like helps with uptake product. It does a bunch of different things actually. Oyster shell flour, another calcium product. And then green sand, green sand is one of those ones that's super expensive. And I honestly, off the top of my head, can't tell you exactly what green sand is for. It's been so long since I've seen anybody in the commercial space use that. Let's find out together. I'm probably going to kick myself because I probably already knew the answer to this. I'm just forgetting. Okay, so it's a cation exchange capacity product. So what that does is it enhances the ability of your soil to store exchangeable nutrients like calcium and magnesium and potassium. So what that means is there are certain soils with a high cation exchange capacity and certain soils with a low cation exchange capacity. And the roots have to interact with that soil to take up the nutrient ions that they need in order to create their sugars and their chlorophyll and photosynthesize. So what that means is that a soil that has a low cation exchange capacity means that you've got less positively charged ions like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. There's less of those stuck to your soil. And I'm not talking about chunks of fertilizer in your soil. I'm talking about literal ions of nutrients that get taken, they get grabbed. The soil you think about the soil grabbing them. The soil grabs those ions and holds them there, and then when the plant is ready to get to that point in the pot, or whether it's ready to take up those nutrients, it will pass that ion from the soil to the plant. Certain soils are less efficient at holding those ions in place. Green sand is something that assists with holding those nutrients in place. It's called cation exchange. Hopefully I described that in a way that was relatively understandable. But yeah, so that is what green sand does. And then I said I was going to come back to one of those ingredients, which was gypsum. Right. So if any of you guys are organic growers out there, this is a really important thing to know. I would grab a pen and paper for this one because this is a really important thing to know. When you go to buy a calcium product, you will find a ton of different calcium products that are derived from calcium nitrate and calcium carbonate. Those are the two primary. In our nutrient line, we use a calcium chelate, which is a chelated calcium. It's a pretty high priced product, so you don't see it in a lot of other nutrient lines because they kind of like they'll go in a different direction and maybe sacrifice some of the correct applications of their nutrient line to kind of drop that expensive product. But aside from that, those are there's a few other kind of scragglers out there, but those two, potassium nitrate and calcium nitrate and calcium carbonate are the two major ones that you'll see in most fertilizers. And the reason that they're so different is because the potassium nitrate, when it is dissolved in water, so if I were to go and get a bag of potassium nitrate, I were to dump it into a tank, it stir it up, it dissolves, those ions have now separated. I've now got nitrogen, nitrogen, which is the most readily available form of nitrogen to the plant, and then I've got calcium ions, which are again Ca2+, which are again very available to the plant, and the plant will take up as much as it needs through something called active transport. I think it's active transport. Yeah. So active transport means that the plant is using energy. It is burning ATP. It is physically trying to take those nutrients from the soil to its root base and up through the plant. Now, the other thing that can happen is you've got something like calcium carbonate, which gypsum, you can buy bags of gypsum, and you can spread it in your soil ahead of the season, and it will slowly dissolve as you water your soil. Or you can buy it in a liquid suspension like you might see from a bunch of different liquid organic nutrient providers. And now what I don't like about some of these liquid organic nutrient providers is that they do not provide a disclaimer that calcium carbonate is a lesser calcium. It is, if calcium nitrate is Peyton Manning, calcium carbonate is Eli Manning. It still works. It's still good, okay? It's not like it doesn't do anything, but the other one's way better. So I think that was a pretty good analogy, actually. Yeah, so calcium nitrate, immediately available. Calcium carbonate, it takes some time to dissolve. It's suspended in that water. It is not dissolved in that, in that jug that you're buying. Once you put it into the soil, it takes, it can take, depending on your soil conditions and what's helping it dissolve and mineralize, it can take a long time for that calcium carbonate to fully assimilate and be available to your plants. So for that reason, it moves into the plant via something called passive diffusion. I don't want to get my word wrong there. I'm going off of memory here. Yeah, I think I had that right. So yeah, you can call it passive diffusion or you can call it passive transport. So that means that the roots are sitting in an area with the calcium. As the calcium slowly breaks down, it osmotically passes into the roots from an area of lower concentration to from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. And that's a passive thing that happens. It requires no energy and it happens much slower. So let's pull up a calcium carbonate product real quick, because I think this is a really good point to kind of get into briefly. Let's do liquid organic calcium. A lot of people don't know when they're buying this kind of stuff that what they're really getting. So let's just go with Roots Organic, because Roots Organic, that's a CalMag, sorry. Liquid calcium. So you've got your 5% liquid calcium here, and let's see what they are using. Calcium chloride. Okay, great. This is a great liquid organic. Calcium chloride is what they use to melt salt pretty often. Some of you guys who are from colder climates might recognize that chemical. Let's see. C says, that's crazy. I got calcium carbonate powder I use in my natural toothpaste. Can I just put it in soil in the beginning? I would want to. Oh, you're using it in your natural. I thought you were saying you use it as toothpaste and you were going to never mind. Okay. it depends what quality it is. It depends what type it is. If you want to shoot me a text if it's like fertilizer grade, I've never heard of the liquid or calcium carbonate powder being used in toothpaste, so I'm not sure if those two products are exactly the same or if they're structured the same. But so yeah, guys, so this is calcium chloride. Calcium chloride is more immediately available than calcium nitrate. It is more difficult to work with, and it has a much higher salinity than I'm not toothpaste, I meant powder. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it has a much higher salinity than your other your calcium nitrate or your calcium carbonate, which means that it will contribute more to the EC increase than your calcium nitrate or your calcium carbonate will, which means that you cannot add as much of it, because if you're already kind of loaded up on other nutrients and your EC is pushing the high limits of what it should be, adding something like calcium chloride and really drastically spiking the salinity of your nutrient solution is going to harm your plants. So that's why calcium chloride is not used as commonly. Maybe, I kind of like Roots Organics. I've never had a problem. I've used it before. I've never used their liquids. This one's Down to Earth, right? Yeah. So Down to Earth, yeah. So this one's good. Down to Earth is actually something I recommend to people, and I didn't realize they were using calcium chloride in their whatchamacallit, calcium product. I'm actually really impressed with that. So this is the Down to Earth calcium 96. This is calcium carbonate, and C, if you see on my screen right now, am I covering that up? Can you see it? If you can see on the screen right now, this is what calcium carbonate for fertilizer looks like. And if your calcium carbonate looks like that, maybe, yeah, you could use it as a fertilizer. But let's find us a liquid calcium fertilizer. Here you go. So here's Ferticell 880. And this one, they don't give you the derived from, but regardless, yeah, I happen to know this one is a calcium carbonate based. That's what you're looking for. So when you're buying an organic liquid calcium, you're looking for whether it's calcium carbonate or a different form of calcium. And let's see real quick. Let's just do this Roots Organics one. See if we can get the ingredients here. Derived from caesorite, and gypsum. Gypsum, you see it right there, that is calcium carbonate, and that is an indicator there that this product will provide its calcium much more slowly than something like a liquid calcium nitrate. I'm looking for the NPK value of this, and I'm not seeing it on the front label. But yeah, that's something that's really important to know. So your active transport and your passive diffusion, like those are things that you should kind of keep in your head. Not all nutrients are equal. Not all calciums are equal. Not all nitrogens are equal. Nitrogens are not equal because there's ammoniacal nitrogen and there's nitrate nitrogen. Ammoniacal nitrogen needs to be broken down before it can be taken up by the plant, because the plant takes up nitrate nitrogen. So there are bacteria, there are different factors that break down the ammonia or the ammoniacal nitrogen to some people say ammoniacal, and I'm never sure how to pronounce that properly, but yeah, some people will add extra microbes to break that down more quickly. There's a lot of different things about the ammonia. So ammonia nitrogen works better, I want to say, at lower pHs. And your nitrate nitrogen is a little bit better at higher pHs. So for soil applications, nitrate's going to be the way to go. For rock wool and hydroponic applications, you want a little bit higher percentage of ammonia in there. These are all things that you kind of pick up throughout the years of growing, and these are really important skills to kind of absorb that kind of information. Go and do your own research and learn about why maybe you're still seeing calcium deficiencies when you're adding what you think is the right amount of calcium. This could very well be the reason, because it's a different type of calcium than you've used in the past. And that's kind of a classic mistake that some people make, is not really understanding the different types. Even if it's nitrogen, they're both nitrogen, they're not equal nitrogens. Let's see real quick. So this is a company I actually happen to really like. Calcium amino acid complex. Awesome. Here you go. Another, this is OMRI certified, another organic calcium product that is not calcium carbonate. Years ago, you would be seeing most organic calcium products as calcium carbonate, especially the powdered ones. But these days, people have moved into more available forms. Companies have moved into more available forms. This would be an excellent source of calcium to fix a calcium deficiency. And if you wanted to turn this into a CalMag, what you would do is go and buy some Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, and you would, obviously in the right ratios, combine your liquid calcium with your liquid, the magnesium sulfate that you've dissolved in water. You combine those two, and as long as your levels are proper, it's not going to precipitate out, and you will end up with a CalMag that you made yourself and probably saved a lot of money to make yourself. That's, it's again another one of those skills where if you guys are ever looking to get into the commercial cannabis industry and you go and get a job at the commercial cannabis facility and you happen to notice, hey, these guys are using a really expensive organic CalMag, and that CalMag isn't even as effective as what it would be if they were to buy a different calcium component and some Epsom salt and blend them together and probably save 50% of what they were paying on the other product. So that's, and Biomin, this company, has a liquid micronutrient. Every micronutrient for cannabis, or maybe not every single one, but most micronutrients for cannabis, they have a liquid product here, almost always 5% of whatever it is that's in there. I really like those. We've used those a lot on the commercial side for the consulting and for fixing people's problems. If we identify a single nutrient deficiency, which is pretty rare, usually it's multiple, but if we identify a single nutrient deficiency, that is a great way to fix it with just a product that has only that. So to get back to what I was talking about here, directions for use, what are they adding here? They're telling you to do broadcast and incorporate 8.8 grams per kilogram, 10 meters squared, apply up to maximum 7.6. Okay, so 7. It's a weird way of doing this. Just tell me per acre. Yeah. So let's see what they are dressing. 45 milliliters. Help me out, guys, here. Am I missing something? Are they measuring a powder in milliliters? Is this a liquid product here? If anybody knows what I'm actually looking at here, there's no way it's a liquid. Like I was thinking for a split second, I thought maybe it was a compost tea. Here, wait. I sent in Messenger. Will you look right real quick? Make a natural soil with different stuff that will save money. Yeah, let's. I don't have the ability to pull up that Facebook account on this computer at the moment. Just because I don't know what my password is off heart. It's a whole long story. I've got 2 Facebook accounts. This computer's logged into the wrong one, so I wouldn't be able to see your message, and I can't get signed into the other one. But let's talk after the live here, and I will do my best to help you. I might not be the best guy to help you to put together like a perfect top dress feeding schedule, but I will do my best, and I can even link you up if I feel like I'm not doing the best job. I can link you up with somebody who will do better. So anyway, yeah, if any of you guys are using Gaia Green, can you explain why what I'm seeing here is 15 milliliters per 4 liter, 1 tablespoon per gallon. If they're measuring the powder here by milliliters, that's a first for me. But so they're saying 1 tablespoon per gallon top dressing, and once a month is what they're telling you the frequency should be. And they're telling you to do 3 tablespoons per gallon of soil or growing medium at the beginning. So already I'm kind of seeing some issues here. There's not a top dress nutrient really in the world that's going to last you a full month and be as good at the end as it was at the beginning. Think about this logically, okay? They want you to add, let me get myself back on the screen here. They want you to add their nutrient once a month. Now, whether that's because they believe that they're slowly dissolving products in there have a dissolution rate that gets them to, or a mineralization rate that will get it from point A to point B in about a month average. That does not mean they're able to take into account everybody's different types of soils, everybody's different types of environments, and really every top dress nutrient I've ever used in my entire career, I have always applied at once weekly, sometimes once every 10 days. That's the minimum I've ever applied them. I see a lot of people growing with Gaia Green at the end, mid to late flower, end up with some serious nutrient deficiencies. I can guess why. It's because for a long time they've been dumping in, so let's think about it this way. You're dumping in a fertilizer that has chunky organic pieces in it, and then you're watering it down. You're watering your plants. You're kind of mixing it in, watering for a month. And by the time you get to the end of that month, you've still got some stuff that's not 100% dissolved. It's still providing nutritional value, but it's providing much less nutritional value than the rapidly dissolving stuff like that feather meal and blood meal were at the beginning. So if those ones kind of disappeared in about a week to 10 days, you've now got 20 to 25, 23 days of not getting the benefits of those rapidly dissolving, 3 tablespoons per gallon of media. That's what they recommended to start with. Here, I'll pull it back up so you can see here. Their recommendation for starting was sizes. Where did I have that? Directions for use. So pre-mixing soil for hanging baskets, potted plants, and plants is 45 milliliters, 3 tablespoons per gallon. But then they tell you to do 1 tablespoon per gallon once a month. And if you look at it, with kind of a science eye, you're gonna see Bill Nye the Science Eye. You're gonna see there's no way it's as good at the end as it is at the beginning. And then on top of that, you still have stuff that's left over and still dissolving when you add your next dose at the end of the month. So now you've got almost no way to measure the amount of nutrients that your plants are getting, because now you've got, by the time you're at the end, let's just say of a photo period grow, by the time you're at the end of that, you've got 6 different layers of fertilizer that's still dissolving, and you're only getting those refreshers of instantly available fertilizers once a month. It doesn't check out. The math doesn't work, and that's one of my issues with a lot of these top dress fertilizers is they've got great stuff in them. I can't deny that what they're putting in them is a nice blend of rapidly and slowly dissolving products, but what the real issue here is that this is a very complicated science of mineralization rates and dissolution rates, and these are things where you cannot do guesswork, and when you do guesswork, you end up with something that does okay, which is what I've seen with Gaia Green. I've never really seen somebody using Gaia Green with the recommended feeding rates and come out at the end with like a beautiful, gorgeous, healthy plant that's not wanting for anything. It really is most top dress. I've used what's the one with the lion on it? I forget. Nature's Pride. So I've used Nature's Pride. I've used all sorts of different top dress fertilizers, and I've never been impressed with them. Always a good liquid for me. And here, just because now we just looked at a dry, some of this is amendment, some of this is fertilizer. The more rapidly dissolving stuff is fertilizer, some of it is amendment. But let's just call this a top dress dry fertilizer organic, right? So now let's pull up Down to Earth. Let's do liquid. So here is your Down to Earth line. Looking at this, you're going to see that you've got a 413, you've got a 264, and you got a 012-0. So I am not a fan of the way that they've set this up, because they're going off of, like what we talked about earlier, they're going off of that old misconception that, oops, you can't see that. They're going off of that old misconception that high phosphorus equals high yields. And it's not the case, and it's been proven to not be so. So what you would need to do really with a product like this is you would need to supplement with a little bit of nitrogen and supplement with a little bit of potassium. And then you could use your liquid bloom and your liquid all-purpose to make a really nice feeding schedule with a little bit of nitrogen and a little bit of potassium to kind of balance them out, because that phosphorus is the highest number there between the two. You know, you got 4 and 2, which makes 6. You got 4 and 3, which makes 7. Sorry, it's equal with the potassium. It's right neck and neck there. Which, you know, again, it's not what you want to see. The calcium I like. The calcium is fine, and I'm guessing that they would just want you to use a magnesium sulfate as the. And then you got your 241 here. Again, higher phosphorus than really anything, and that's it's another. So what? Only bought it one time. Yeah, this is one where I like to. It's expensive. This stuff is expensive. This is one where I like to kind of give people a reference of an organic liquid fertilizer that I've used, that I know with the fertilizer or feeding program that I made with this particular nutrient line worked extraordinarily well, and I really liked working with it. That was years ago, before I even knew about the difference between calcium chloride and nitrate and potassium carbonate. You know, like I'm always learning, and this kind of stuff. This was one of those fertilizers where I was like, I used it. Hey, it's not something that we're going to use again because it was pricey, but I like it as a liquid fertilizer. So there's kind of a comparison between what you kind of want to see, which is your 4-1-3, a nice balance between your nitrogen and your and there. This is an all-purpose. So that Gaia all-purpose is a sorry, my mustache keeps. The Gaia all-purpose is something that is designed as an all-purpose, like fruits and vegetable fertilizer. Your down-to-earth fertilizer is really more cannabis-facing. You can kind of tell, or it's you know, I see they've got some maybe radishes on the label there, but really, you know, that's a ratio that's pretty good for cannabis. So there's an example of a liquid organic fertilizer, and to wrap it up, let's pull up another example of a liquid organic fertilizer. Where's my home page here? Okay. Jesus Christ, guys. Free 25 gift card with every order. Okay. So, yeah, this is Foop. Looks like they changed their website a little bit. Combine fish poo, microbial biostimulants, and all of the other critical nutrients that plants need into organic plant foods and foliar sprays that transform your soil into a life-giving ecosystem. So, what they're saying is they've got microbes. They've got microbes in their product, and see what else they have to say about it here. This, and again, this is one of those companies that I searched last week before we did the last week's live stream. I searched on this website for the guaranteed analysis on the back of the bottle, and I could not find a picture. I could not find a list of nutrients that are in there and at what percent. I don't see anything at the bottom here to click it and find it. So what I did was I pulled up here we go. So I got Bloom 1 there, Bloom 2. I might have lost my Veg 2. And I think I lost my Veg 1. Well, we'll look at Bloom first, I guess. So what I'm looking at here is your guaranteed analysis, and let me see if I could maybe control scroll. There we go. Nope, that doesn't work for pop-up. Okay, that's not going to work for a pop-up. But so you've got a total of 0.12% nitrogen insoluble. There's no nitrogen in this, in Bloom 2. Plants need nitrogen till the end, by the way, guys. You never pull the nitrogen away completely. So you've got now your soluble potash, 0.85%. You've got your available phosphate, 0.17%. Magnesium, 0.21%. Calcium, 0.47. Silica or silicon, you've got 0.04. These are all extremely low amounts of this shit. That is so drastically low. I don't know why they're putting organic peppermint organic peppermint oil and organic citric acid, I can understand they probably want to bring down their pH. But why peppermint oil? Maybe as a pest deterrent. If anybody knows in the chat why they're putting, I guess maybe it smells bad. Super happy with the Vega Matrix per cost and how it works for me. Is that one of theirs? Is that a Foop product, Jason? So yeah. The ingredients here are fine. You know, it's fish excrement. Fish. I can't even speak tonight. My mouth is dry. Fish excrement is something that has been used as a fertilizer for a long time, and it's actually gaining more popularity now. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the amount that they're using in there. And mineralized aquaculture water. Mineralized water, okay. Organic sea kelp, organic volcanic silica. So yeah, really, that's what this is. It's just some kelp, some fish poop, and peppermint oil and silica. And citric acid. So it's a very simple thing, very simple stuff, and it's not got a lot in there. So if you're looking at Bloom 2 and you're in your later stages, obviously they're asking for 50 mils per gallon and 45 mils per gallon. So what you guys will notice is that our nutrient line has a 60 mil per gallon rate of feeding. Now, the reason that we get away with that, and it's a problem when somebody like Foop does it, is because we designed it to be a high application rate for two reasons. One reason is that we want you to go through it really quickly. You know, we want you to be able to use up a single bottle in a week because that's how it's kind of designed, or in a growth phase because that's how it's designed. And then we want also to not have any issues with precipitation when you're mixing it at home and leaving it sit somewhere that might not be the best conditions, might not be the best temperature to store it. We don't want any precipitation happening, so we diluted it even more. And then the third reason is did I say two reasons? I meant three. The third reason is that we want adjustments to be easy for people. This is a conventional nutrient line that's designed to be as good for somebody who's brand new to growing as it is for somebody who has been doing it for years. You'll get, similar results as far as the nutrition goes. And the way that we kind of set it up to help the newer growers is that you can, let's just say if you're using Athena blended, you would have to go from 14 milliliters to 12 milliliters to reduce your application rate. That requires a very precise graduated cylinder. The option that we went with is, okay, we can make a liquid fertilizer, but why would we need to make it so concentrated when we're selling people packets and we can design it however we want? Because we're not, it's not like they had the one bottle of it and they bought the nutrients in there already blended with the water, and then if you have a high application rate, they're going to run out too fast. It's designed like that, and we're able to kind of manipulate it however we want because we've designed a nutrient line differently than everybody else has. But with someone like Foop, they're charging a premium for a liquid organic fertilizer product, and once that bottle is empty, that bottle is empty. With us, you just put in another packet. So right there is I'm already not liking what I'm seeing. That's Bloom 1. Bloom 2, you've got 1.53% nitrogen, which is mostly water soluble. So you've got 1.47%, probably nitrate nitrogen from the fish hydrolysate, and you've got 2.88% available phosphate, and you've got, again, much higher phosphorus than anything else. And this is where our problems lie with a lot of these fertilizer lines. Your overall nutrient availability with something like this is going to be dangerously poor. You're not providing enough nutrients in the solution to end up with a healthy plant looking at this formulation. And then beyond that, they've got their ratios all wrong. I don't remember, I looked at Bloom 1. I did not see micronutrients here. I guess maybe they're relying on the kelp for that, maybe. And then Veg 2, I think it's going to be a really similar story here with Veg 1 and Bloom 1. But I don't feel like searching for the Bloom Veg 1. But yeah, so total nitrogen, we've got 1.57%. Soluble nitrogen, we've got 1.46% available phosphate. And again, 0.22% available potassium. we just looked at a study that establishes the importance of potassium in high numbers and the lack of importance of available phosphate or phosphorus in high percentages. So there's nothing about this nutrient line that I find to be satisfactory. I find it to be one of the worst nutrient lines out there, and I think Fox Farm might be up there with it. I did have the Fox Farm window pulled up to see if maybe I could grab the back of a bottle here to take a look at. So let's take a look at their Liquid Big Bloom. Kyle Cushman's line with the Vegematrix per cost and how well it works for me. Yeah, I'll look into it. If it's is that conventional or is that liquid, Jason? So let's see if we can pull up our back label here. Do they not provide it to you? Microbrew related products. Yep, they do not give you a link to look at the back of their bottles. Again, it's because the back of the bottle is not great for a lot of these fertilizers. They don't like to put it out there. So I'm going to do Fox Farm Big Bloom. And let's see if I can get a back of the bottle picture on. Here we go. Which one's going to look better? Let's try this one. Okay, so your Big Bloom has got. Ooh. How does this thing work? What is going on here? What a terrible website. 0.5% of phosphorus, 0.7% of potash, iron, 0.1%. So okay, I just remembered why I hate Fox Farm. I will go into a little bit more detail here. So they've got 0.1% iron in this product, which is a hefty amount of iron. I believe last time, from what I remember, they have iron in every product. And if you wanted to get your plant up to the proper level of the macronutrients that you need to get a good yield, you would be providing almost 3 times the amount of iron that the plants require, which can cause major issues. So again, these are like formulation problems that seem to be kind of like rookie mistakes on a lot of these well-established fertilizer lines, and it's really hard to understand why that would be. So you've got, this is just a worm castings and bat guano is what I just pulled up, I guess. And it's just kind of just like a supplement, I'm sure. Looking for their higher macronutrient. You got a 1.0, 0.3, 0.2. It's a microbrew. Here's your Grow Big. So you got your Big Bloom, which is like a supplement. Here, let's pull these 3 up. You've got your liquid plant food, Grow Big, which is a 644. And again, Buds and Blooms, 284. This is, again, the same issue. Potassium is the highest number. Potassium is the highest number again. It just doesn't work well. It does not do what people think it does. Now, to kind of show you somebody who gets it right, there's a company called Athena, which you probably all know a lot about. And Athena Blended is one of the better rates. They have probably some good agronomists working for them that formulated this product, and they have some pretty good ratios of nutrients in their products. So you've got your Bloom A, which is a 405, and let's see if I can find us a Bloom B. Bloom B, you've got a 764. So what that means is I have to take a look at their feeding schedule and see what their a 0.764, yeah. So what they're recommending, but you could add more of the 406 and less of the 0.765 to get your balance of iron, of your nitrogen and your potassium higher. And the fact that this has only 0.7% nitrogen, it allows you to boost your potassium, kind of push the teeter-totter that way in flour, And I'm assuming, like that, I don't have these memorized by heart, but I know every time I look at Athena's liquid nutrient line, I'm like, okay, yeah, their numbers are actually pretty good. So let's take a look at their veg A. And the reason that I'm saying things that are good about this one and bad about the other is only because of that 0 in the middle of the NPK here. That 0 is very important. That 0 allows you to take the other two dominant, macronutrients, not including calcium and sulfur and magnesium, which are absolutely macronutrients, but to take the 3 core macronutrients and allow you to adjust the 2 on the ends, the nitrogen and the potassium, higher than what you would get with the phosphorus is a great way to blend fertilizer. And here you've got a 1-3-5. So if you were to put these together 50-50, you would have a 5-3-6. Nice, balanced blend. It's a 2-to-1. I happen to go a little bit higher even on the ratio and reduce my phosphorus even more. But this is a good example of the correct ratios of where you see, okay, I've got it now where my nitrogen, here's my nitrogen source, is a 4, got an extra 1 there. Here, my potassium source is a 5 and a 1, and my phosphorus source is a 3. So I could easily make a feeding schedule with this that's going to provide the 2 things that I need the most and not over-provide the thing that I don't need as much. So there is... Sorry, one sec. Okay. So there is an example of a good one. So I'm going to put Athena, their liquid nutrient line, blended. I'm going to put it in the B tier. And the reason I'm not giving it an A tier is because their nutrients are kind of like almost proprietary. You have to use every part of their system in order for it to work. So their CalMag on its own is terrible. I don't think they have got the CalMag on this one. Their CalMag on its own is terrible. When you combine it with the components that you would see in these, which is, I think one of these has 5% calcium. I don't know if it's the A or the B, but sorry, that was weird. Me moving it around on the screen like that looks pretty terrible on the YouTube. But yeah, so put it in the B tier because you can't break away a part and use it with another program. Like general hydroponics, you can use their CalMag all day, every day with other stuff, and it works excellent. Great ratios in that CalMag on general hydroponics. Athena, they designed it so that you have to keep everything in the family, which if you're doing that, it's a great fertilizer line. If you're not, it's still, you could still kind of work something out to use parts of it, but it's not going to work as well. That's why for me, it lands in the B tier. Foop, I'm going to put down in the F tier. That's going to be our first F tier. Did we talk about one other one today, or is that it? I think we just talked about Foop. Oh, and Down to Earth. Down to Earth, I'm going to give it a C tier. Like that's like a C. It's not terrible. It's not great. But for a liquid organic, I would say like a C plus is what I would give Down to Earth. And that is where we kind of landed. Yeah, so let's wrap it up here. Let me make my face a little larger for you. All right. Okay, guys, that is another one in the books. I see maybe some questions here. I couldn't find the guaranteed analysis online, but I have all the info on my products if you want me to send them to you if you can't find them. Sure, yeah, if you have got my contact, send me. You're talking about the Vega Matrix? Yeah. Sure, send it to me. I'm happy to take a look at it. There's a lot of it. I saw one recently called Ibex that looked interesting. I didn't look too closely at it. There's a lot of new nutrient lines constantly coming out, but they're all kind of the same. A liquid nutrient line, you're taking your stuff that the plant wants, dissolving it in water, and shipping a jug of water wherever you need to go with a little bit of nutrients in it. Usually it's about 97% water and 3% everything else. Sometimes it's higher, like 90-10 or whatever. But regardless, that's what you're really looking at. If it's a 4-4-4, then it's a 88-12. That's what you're looking at with liquid nutrient lines, and their formulations can be different. Their ratios, their percentages, their products that they use in them can all be different. But at the end of the day, a liquid nutrient line is, you're limited to what you're able to do with a liquid nutrient line. And the reason that, what we're putting out there is not just another fertilizer line coming out there. It's a completely different type of fertilizer system that allows for people who are not comfortable with salt nutrients, who would rather go for a liquid organic or liquid conventional nutrient because they're afraid they're going to burn their plants with salts. We have now made a product that's so dilute, and it's very difficult to burn your plants with it because we've made it pretty diluted, and you get to use salts. You're using salts in a way that makes it into a liquid. You're using a liquid fertilizer line, but you're having salts arrive in your mailbox. So Sean asked what I would rate advanced nutrients. I've got some friends in advanced nutrients, so I'm not going to say anything negative. What I will say is that they've got a lot of products. It can be a little overwhelming for some new growers when they see the lineup of all the different options for advanced nutrient products. So that's what I would say about it. They've got their Sensi Pro line. I've used it before, and they've got some really brilliant plant nutrition guys working there. There's a guy named Jake that's a friend of mine at Advanced Nutrients, and he does a really excellent job. I worked with him with a couple clients, and yeah, they're growing our seeds and they're using Advanced Nutrients, and we work together, and it's a really good. He's a really good guy. So there's a lot of smart guys there, and if they've always got a product that will fit the need for what you need to do, so it's fine. But if you're new to growing, it is not necessarily something that's going to be the easiest program to navigate, is how I'll say. Ed Miller says, pre-order nutrients. Ed, if you have not received a tracking notification email yet, that's because your order is in the next batch, but we are shipping them this week in batches, and a lot of people have already gotten their shipping emails. So it's just difficult. These are bulky, and it takes a lot of doing to get them put together, and we're kind of having to scramble a little bit because we had to change some stuff, and those parts came in way too late. So, but yeah, we definitely are going. We're so goddamn close on that. Definitely not worth the money. Make sure I'm not missing any questions. Do you guys have any questions other than about what we're talking about here, or speedrun stuff? I can describe the Golden Gun. The Golden Gun is a strain that we didn't really get into at the beginning of the Frosted Cheerios. Yeah, Final Boss. Yeah, so that's another great one that we're gonna start to talk about a lot more when the nutrient line loots. Where did that come from? Oh, because I'm reading. Yeah, can't talk and read. What about House and Garden nutrient line? Just jumped in. Have you covered it? Are they good? House and Garden's good. It's fine. House and Garden is good. It's another decent one. I would have to look pretty close. We're kind of at the end here, but that's one that I'll pull up. I have actually one of the people that sort of like mentored me throughout my agronomy kind of beginnings. I used to travel around the country with him and visit different farms that were his clients, and I was the grower relations specialist at that time. So he would do all of the agronomy science like I do now, and I would communicate with the client. I would be the guy that makes sure that there's stuff, the communication doesn't break down, because that can happen a lot at cannabis farms. It can be a really bad communication environment. So I was there to make sure that everybody worked well together, and also to pick up on all the stuff that he was doing, so that later down the road I could do it too. So that's how I learned. He preferred House and Garden. So he is a brilliant cannabis scientist, and that was his nutrient line that he used for years and years and years to grow cannabis before it was legal. So, are you gonna get end pics of Slapple on the website? Actually, Slapple is like a flea's dick away from being sold out. I don't know why that picture keeps disappearing. I think we fixed that like 3 times. Don't know what's going on there, but yeah, Slapple. I think there might be like another week on it before it's sold out. We'll bring in more eventually. That we haven't done a run of Slapple in a while. We'll probably do that maybe next run after this one, and we could restock it with the F3 at that. I think it's F3. I think the original Slapple is an F2. How many more drops are coming up? I might need to get a second job. Sean, we have so many strains to release. It's we have so many strains to release, and some of them are like God tier. Some of them are so amazing. It's just like, some of them are great. Some of them are really good, like amazing strains, and then some of them are, for me, my personal. So that's the thing. It's all personal preferences. The ones that you guys would look at and say, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, I would look at it and be like, yeah, I like this one. So, it's to each his own, but yes, we've got a ton of strains coming up. I couldn't even put a number on it, maybe 15 that we have right now, that we've sort of stabilized enough to put out there. But the Frosted Cheerios crossed with the Granite Haze, I think, is one of the greatest combinations that could have been made with our genetics. It's just, those Frosted Cheerios just come out so frosty and solid and stress resistant every time. Those Granite Hazes have amazing bud structure, really great frost. There's got a terpene profile to kill for. They just have like all these different things that make those two strains great to come together. Kenny says outdoor variety. We haven't run it outdoors yet, honestly. We've done a test run of it indoors, and we're actually just starting a run of it now outdoors. So we're going to find out this season if it's a good outdoor variety. I don't see why it wouldn't be, because the two parents are. But this one is special. This one is special, and because you guys have stuck with me here till the end, we've gone a little bit long again. I got 20 people here. I will tell you the next cross that's coming out. We still have not put our finger on the name quite yet for it, but we have a Sapphire Granite Haze cross coming out as well. The Sapphire Granite Haze, again, Sapphire has different benefits in that cross, or different traits in that cross than the Frosted Cheerios does. The Sapphire has a nice, like, lankier but insanely frosty froster than either of those two strains. And the terpene profile that I am the largest fan of, like, or the terpene profile that I love the most, Sapphire has. And that's one of the ones that's coming out. Maybe not next, or maybe next, but it's coming out soon, within the next few weeks. Why do you not tie a strain with the release of Diablo 4? Could have done something like the God Particle, Holy Fire, Jehovah's Witness, Holy Trinity. What happened to the themes, the variety packs? So the theme variety packs are actually coming out. So I don't know if I've spoken about this on the live. Blackberry is an excellent outdoor strain. Yes, it's one of the best outdoor strains for sure. We've got some selected multi-packs coming out. Just that one just kind of had to take the back burner a little bit to some of the more pressing matters that we've had come up. But we are going to be kind of getting some product shots of those and up on the website, where it's just, we've chosen, so like we call one of them the Backyard Beast collection, where we've got strains in there, and Blackberry is one of them, where they are outdoor strains that we know do really well outdoors, and they're designed for people who are looking to grow outdoors. Instead of having to come and ask somebody or come to the group and say, hey, which one of these are good outdoor strains, they can just, you get the outdoor combo pack. And then we've got the Nose Candy combo pack, which is just strains that just have an insane, really forward terpene profile, like the Supreme Runts, the Sapphire is in that one, and then I want to say the Ice Latte. No, I'm sorry. It's the Granite. Sorry, Jehovah's Witness. Sorry, you'll see the list. It's. I'm trying to remember which one went into which one, because they share traits sometimes. And then there's a Frost Warning, multi-pack or combo pack. So the Frost Warning is all of our frostiest strains kind of put together, and that's another one where if you're looking specifically for that visual appeal of a really frosty strain, you go with that. If you're somebody who loves strains that have super high terpenes or really unique terpene profiles, and you're less concerned with it having the visual appearance of being super frosty, then you'll go with the other one. And if you're looking to grow outdoors, you go with that third one. We'll probably add some more in as time goes on, as we have more strains. But those are the three that we're starting with. And those are coming up soon. So Josh says, Sapphire is good. I pulled 3 ounces from a 3-gallon pot. Good stony buzz to it. Let it go 76 days and harvested. Perfect. Yeah, it's like you're right on the money on what we want the harvest time to be. Any update on reward points? Which reward point do you mean specifically, Sammy? Like your reward points? If that's the case, then yeah, I can go into your profile. I have that page pulled up right now. So if you want to send me a message, sorry, the $5 Fridays. Yeah, multi-packs just mystery beans are just not out yet. We just again, this past weekend has just been a little bit crazy for us. This past week in general has been a little bit crazy for us. So this week we're going to be doing a few things that are abnormal. we have got the pre-selected multi-packs coming out. We're going to make Fatality available as a strain on the site. We're not going to really like hype it up as a drop because so many freebies of those have gone out, but we are going to kind of, we're going to make sure that people are aware that we're making the Fatality available in the multi-packs and as a single. We've got now we're going to name the we're going to name the Granite Haze F4 crossed with the Supreme Runts F2. Those two, that cross is going to get named this week. We have some really good front runners for it, and we're going to choose one. So that's a strain that's going to become available. We didn't send out a lot of freebies of that one, so we probably will have like a special drop for that, its own little drop. And then, by the way, guys, the drop coming out tonight, the one that you guys, a lot of you probably have gone to get, has an unreleased freebie coming with it. And was that the extra pack that comes with the golden gun? The extra strain? The extra strain that's coming with the golden gun is actually the Granite Haze crossed with Pound Dog. We've got a Pound Dog F5 crossed with the Granite Haze F5, and we decided to do a really special freebie this time for people. This is the first time that this is being said out loud, so you guys are getting the scoop here. Ed, what is the fastest finisher with the highest THC? Granite Haze. Granite Haze has the highest THC and finishes nice and fast. Fatality. What with gold? No, Fatality is not coming with Golden Gun. Golden Gun is shipping out with a Pound Dog crossed with Granite Haze, and I'm not going to tell you guys the name that we've chosen for it yet, but that is what it is shipping with. And I'm going to kind of announce that now that it's getting close to the end of how many we have left. I'm going to kind of drop the bomb that we're releasing the Granite Haze crossed with Pound Dog with it, and that'll kind of probably push the rest of them to sell out. Yeah. So awesome Pound Dog crossed with Granite Haze. It's a killer one. It's really great. It's a great strain. But okay, we're well over our time here. I have some stuff I still have to do tonight. We're almost at an hour and a half. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. There's more people here now than there was at the beginning. Cool. Cool. Thanks for staying here and listening to my rants and asking questions. I love to answer. So I see, was that a question there? Granite Runts finishes pretty quickly too. I pulled one on 69 days and the other two on 71. Yeah, sounds about right. Okay, so I see your message on Facebook there. We will get your points all settled. So, okay, guys, I love you. I will be around on the Facebook group. A little bit quieter week for me this week, so I'll be more active in the group and more available to you. You'll see all those things that I mentioned coming up. We've got some really dope new stickers. If you guys are in the Facebook group, go back to the Facebook group and check out the pictures that I just posted of our new slaps. I don't think I have any handy right here, but they are nutrient absorption charts for different pHs, different pH levels. What's available at what pH level. And we have another one that is our version of Mulder's chart, which is a chart that shows which nutrients antagonize each other, which nutrients inhibit the ability of other nutrient to be taken up, and which nutrients synergize with other nutrients. They influence other nutrients to be taken up more readily, and that's a really cool thing to know, and it's a really great way to visualize it. So we did 2 different educational stickers that are really designed to be kind of stuck up on the wall of your tent, and it's just kind of, I think it's a cool idea to have little mini charts up in your tent that you can look at kind of quickly and be like, oh, that's right, my pH needs to be 6.3 because I'm growing in soil. So, okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks always have a good time with you guys. Thanks for stopping by. How do you get those? Place an order, Ed, and you will get one. Those are coming in orders. So anybody who places an order is going to get one or the other of those. So yeah. Okay, guys, I love you. This time I'm really doing it. I'm going to end stream here. So I hope you have a great night, and I will catch you this week.